Hey, what's up you guys? You're watching Team APS, Paul here, and in today's video I'm going to give you guys a deck profile of my Subterror deck. It's something I've been working on for a really long time. I got interested in this deck when it first came out, but didn't have enough support to really be viable, and with the recent support from Maximum Crisis, it's actually a pretty usable deck. And I've been enjoying it and testing it, and then the ban list came out and it kind of changed a couple of things for this deck, so this is still an experimental build. It's definitely not final. You guys can give me some feedback and stuff, but I have been enjoying it. There are a few cards that I kind of am thinking about still getting and adding in, but yeah, so first up we've got Triple Stalagmo. Now this is a card that I know some people are more a fan of just running 2 copies of. It's a good card because it gives you draw power, so when you flip it face up, you discard a Subterror monster and you get to draw 2 cards. So it is a plus and that's great, but then on the other hand, usually you really only need to resolve this once, maybe twice, and after that it's kind of cloggy if it gets in your hand, but I do like that it has a lot of attack points, so that's pretty good. It's the one that I actually tend to go into the most on turn 1 if I'm able to do that, just because it can filter my hand out, give me pluses, get stuff in the grave set up for later on, because Fiendus can get cards out of the grave, so we'll get to her. Next I've got Triple Umastrix. This is another one that I probably won't be running triple of forever. It's pretty good. It banishes a card, and it targets, which maybe a long time ago, or maybe about a year ago, that wouldn't have been so good, but right now it's fine, and it doesn't matter that it targets. And banishing the card is the really helpful part. So this actually helps Subterrors deal with problem monsters most of the time. Usually anything that's got some sort of control-y effect, you can usually use this to deal with it. And it has good defense, but not so great attack. I might cut it down to 2 as well. And then the last major one is double Subterror Behemoth Stalagmo, which is huge, and I'm thinking I'll probably actually end up running 3 copies of him. He's got the highest attack point at 3,000, which is great. It can swing over nearly everything, and when it flips face up, it flips everything else face down, which is incredible. It's good for dealing with really just a lot of troublesome Xyz monsters, stuff that maybe can't be targeted, stuff that just has continuous effects while face up. This is good for dealing with all of that. You just flip your opponent's field face down, and it actually can combo really well with Stigokraken and even Nemesis Archer, because she spins things that are set. So there's a load of good that can come from this card. I'll probably end up running 3. The only maybe bad part is that it has low defense. And then some of the maybe less important ones is double Phosphor Glacier. So when he flips face up, he actually sends a card from your deck to the graveyard. Any card at all, which is huge. So the main things you'll be sending are Nemesis Warrior, which I'll talk about in a bit. It's a really good recurring plus monster. But you can also send your trap card, what is it, Burrowing, which I'll talk about a little bit later too, and you can banish it from the grave and get a few effects. A card that I'm probably going to add in, I've been experimenting with it a bit online, I just don't happen to have a copy on me right now, is Glow Up Bulb, because if you send Glow Up Bulb, you can actually make Naturia Beast with Nemesis Warrior, and you can make Naturia Barkion with Stigokraken, so that's a cool combo. If you guys are playing Subterrors, you might want to look into it. I'll probably do that. And speaking of Stigokraken, I'm only running 1 because its effect can be a bit situational, but basically, when he gets flipped face up, you destroy set cards in the field equal to the number of behemoths you control. So the important thing to keep in mind about him is that he includes himself, first of all, but you have to destroy set cards equal to that number. So if your opponent only has maybe 2 set cards, and you have 3 behemoths, then you'll have to destroy 3 set cards, so you might actually have to end up destroying maybe some of your own stuff. And so that can be really risky. Also, he doesn't have the best attack stat, but 2600 defense is still fine. And like I said, he can go into Barkion if you're running Glow Up Bulb, which I'm not running this build, but it is worth keeping in mind. And some other cool things about him is with Instant Fusion, if you make Sea Monster of Theseus, you can actually use Sea Monster of Theseus and him to go into Ultimate Zulkin. So that's a cool little play. Now on to the other cards. Triple Subterror Fiendus. I can't say enough about this card. It's really great. It's just, I mean, not just what this deck needed, but it's a huge boon to this deck that it got recently. It has 2 effects. So it's sort of a hand trap. You can send it from your hand or the field to the grave and negate anything your opponent does, but you have to flip a Subterror monster face down. So this is actually great. I mean, it can flip your monsters back face down where they want to be, and it's, protects you from the really annoying spells are usually what I watch out for, Raigeki, and especially, Kaiju Slumber, things like that. So it's really good for that, and also it can just use its regular effect, flip a monster face down, could be itself, could be something else, and you get to summon a Subterror from your hand or the graveyard, and that's huge, honestly, because This deck never really had a whole lot of graveyard recurrence before now, and this lets you get your play started. So like ideally on your first turn, you can normal summon her, use her effect on herself, flip herself face down, summon a behemoth from your hand face down, and that procs your other behemoths. So you can literally set them all to the board, and it's really great. The only problem though is that she'd be face down then, and so she wouldn't be able to actually protect them from, say, like a slumber. But still, she's great. She gets the deck moving really fast, and you'll usually find yourself recycling her a lot too. So there's that. And then I've got double Nemesis Warrior. So Nemesis Warrior is super underrated. If you're a Subterra player, you know how good this card is. Basically, whenever one of your Subterra behemoths gets flipped face up, you can also special summon Nemesis Warrior from your graveyard. And this is important because when you, say, flip summon your Umastrix and you're going to try to banish one of their cards, these effects form a chain, and you get to choose a chain link order. So you can make your Subterra monster be chain link 1, and you can make your Nemesis Warrior be chain link 2. And if your opponent has something like Solemn Strike or any effect that would maybe negate your monster, they can't actually chain it to your monster's effect because this is chain link 2 and that's chain link 1. So it's a really nifty thing. And also it has a cool effect where you can send a Subterra from your deck to the grave and then send tribute him and another monster that have levels that equal the Subterra monster's levels, and then summon that Subterra from your deck. So usually you can use this because he's level 4. Usually you'll be using it to maybe get something like Stalagmo if you need it. I like to get Ultramathus, but that means that you have to have like him and a level 8. So, you know, it can be questionable. But yeah, he's really good. Definitely the linchpin. I was going to run Rhoda to search him, but I realized he's not actually all that great in the hand. You usually want to send him to the grave with something like this or a few other effects where they're available. Or get him with Invoker. That's a good one. Next, I've got my triple copies of... Oh yeah, they'll fit here. Nemesis Archer. So she's really cool. I thought about only maybe just like running 1 or even like 2 or even 1 copies of her. She's not great. She's not like super active card, but when she gets destroyed by battle or card effect, you get to summon one of your behemoths face up or face down from your deck. And also she has like the Aaron Lightsworn Monk effect where she attacks a face down card, she spins it back into the deck. So she combos well with Ultramathus. But the only thing is like you don't really ever want to summon her. You usually rather like summon something like this or a few of the other cards I'm about to get into. But what's cool is that she combos with Lithosasm, who I'm running 3 copies of. Basically your entire deck is Earth, so you'll always be able to proc his effect that banishes cards from your opponent's extra deck, and that's huge. Also though, he can trigger Nemesis Archer's effect. The problem is though, you can't actually use this effect if it was destroyed in your hand. It has to be destroyed from the field, so you will have to like summon her and then use Lithosasm. I mean, you know, this card's cool. I probably would maybe only run 2 copies of it, or like I might end up actually teching in a copy of the Barastos, the water one, just because Barastos, when it gets destroyed, can summon a Lithosasm from your deck and stuff like that. There's a little bit more use for him because he'll never really be able to get his float effect. But he is neat. He is level 9, so you can get anything with your Nemesis Warrior, and it can actually, you can make the rank 9 guy with one of these sub-tiers, I think is level 9. I don't remember which one though, so it might not even be the one I'm running. I've never made that play, I just thought I'd mention it. And finally, we've got the Predaplant engine, which I'm using in place of Speedroid Terratop. So it's triple Orphis Scorpio and a Darlingtonia Cobra. Basically, you summon this, and then you pitch a card, and then you search Cobra, and Cobra can search Instant Fusion. And Instant Fusion can get Invoked Raijin, is usually what you're going to be getting. And you will overlay your 2 monsters to make MX Saber Invoker, and you can use Invoker to summon Nemesis Warrior and all that stuff. And there's a lot of cool combos that can result from that. You can actually summon all your Subterra monsters if you chain Raijin's effect to the effect that flips... What is it? Oh yeah, okay, yeah. So you can activate... You can use these, summon Invoker, and summon Nemesis Warrior. And when you use Nemesis Warrior's effect, you can also chain Invoked Raijin's effect to flip it face down, and they both get tributed, and you can summon a Subterra. And because a monster got flipped face down, which was the Invoker, you didn't have any face-up monsters, you'll actually be able to summon your behemoths from the hand. If I didn't explain that well, just let me know, and I can make a better explanation in the comments. But yeah, so that's all of the monsters. It's a pretty monster-heavy deck, but that's okay. You usually want to see your monsters. The only problem is you don't want to see this big Subterras all too often. You'd really rather be seeing, like, them with a Fiendus or something, because they clog otherwise. As for the spells, we've got triple Hidden City and triple Terraforming. This is so crucial. This is one of those field spells that you really have to see fast. you don't get the option. You need to be running like triple of all of this because it searches a Subterror from your deck to your hand whenever you activate it. And it's also got two other really cool effects. You can flip a Subterror face up. So a play that I actually like to do, that I'll show you guys real quick, is whenever so say like I open with Terraforming or Hidden City, and I have something like a Fiendus in my hand, I will, keep my Fiendus, I'll activate Hidden City, and maybe search something like Stalagmo, and then I'll summon Fiendus and use her effect and flip her down, and summon Stalagmo, face down, and I can use the Hidden City to flip it face up, and then use this hand cycling effect to actually get a plus. Then, if it's, if I'm going second, I can attack. If I'm just going first, I can just flip him back face down either way. And then that kind of sets me up a bit, gives me some pluses. There are a lot of things you can do with just that one effect. And then also you can negate attacks, which is huge. And when you negate the attacks, you also flip your Subterror face up and you get its effect, which is really fun with things like Umastrix or things like Ultramathus. So very, very useful. And also, we've got triple instant fusion. I thought about only running 2 copies because the Predaplant engine can search this, but I'm running 3 because I don't really know what else to run right now, so I'm just sticking with it. Instant fusion gets a couple of different cards, mainly Invoked Raijin, but also you can get Sea Monster Theseus and use it with Stego Kraken to make Ultimate Zulkin, I think I mentioned earlier. So that's a pretty cool thing. This deck never actually needed Norden very much, so the Norden hit doesn't matter very much, but yeah, these cards are like the lifeline. And then I'm just taking this 1 copy of Subterror Cave Clash. It's okay. Basically, all your Subterrors get 500 attack and defense for every set monster in the field, which you have to be careful with keeping up with that amount because it can be tricky. Like whenever they get flipped face up being attacked, that means there's 1 less set card, and same goes for if you attack an opponent's monster, it gets flipped face up, which means your Subterrors will lose attack, and so it can be kind of crazy. But whenever your Subterrors deal any battle damage to your opponent, you get to get a card from your grave to your hand. So it's cool for like recycling a Fiendus, or maybe getting a Behemoth in your hand, or just getting something to pitch with, say, Lithosagem, or something to pitch with Stalagmo. So it's not the best card. I actually tried running like 2 of this at first. It's definitely not worth running 2 of, but as a 1-of tech, it's alright. And I'll just keep these cards here. And then I've got, for the traps, 2 Subterror Behemoth Burrowing. A couple of cool effects. It can protect your Subterrors from being targeted or destroyed. The only bad part is you have to banish a Subterror thing from your grave, and that means that this can be a little bit slow to activate, basically. If you don't have anything in your grave, it's not worthwhile to have it set turn 1. But if it does get destroyed while it's set, or whatever, you can search a Subterror monster from your deck to your hand. That's really valuable. And then also, you can banish it from your grave to flip one of your Subterror monsters face down, and so that's kind of neat if it's already maybe used its effect to flip itself down. It's really cool, and it can flip it down and then let you summon other Subterror monsters. And then finally, we've got, no pun intended, the Subterror Final Battle. This new trap's really cool. I thought about running 3 copies of it, but usually once I see 1 copy, it tends to do enough work for itself. Basically, you have 4 different effects. You can either flip a monster face up, flip a monster face down, monster being Subterror. You can actually make your Subterrors huge. You combine their attack and defense and give it to them as their total attack and total defense. So like, with, say, Umastrix, for example, it's got 2,700 defense, 2,000 attack. He actually becomes 47-47, which is huge. Combos really well with Cave Clash, and it can just throw your opponent for a loop when like they take a load of damage from attacking a Subterror. And then also you can make your Subterror monster effects not be negatable. Pretty cool. You have to use it preemptively though, so it doesn't come up all that much. But anyway, that's all for the main deck. I actually just decided not to really show the extra deck, mainly because like there are only like 2, technically 3 cards you use a lot. With Instant Fusion, of course, you're going to be summoning Invoked Raijin and sometimes Sea Monster of Theseus if you want to make a Zulkin play. And then MX Saber Invoker, which is just used to detach. You make it with, your Predaplants, and you detach to quickly summon out your Nemesis Warriors. So that's really it. So that's going to conclude the deck profile. I hope that you guys enjoyed it, learned some stuff. Like I said, it's an experimental build. I'm not, completely finished with it. I'm not 100% like confirmed with all the different cards. But let me know what you guys think. Subterrors are actually really fun. They're obviously not the most competitive thing on the block. They're a little slow to set up. They can brick and things like that. But when you get going and you actually summon a load of Subterrors to the field, it can be really scary for your opponent, and you can actually net some cool pluses. So, and if you guys want to see me use this deck in action in a few real-life duels, get this video to 500 likes, and I can definitely make that happen. Anyway, this was Paul from Team APS. This is part of the Summer of Yu-Gi-Oh! Where I'm uploading a Yu-Gi-Oh! Video every single day, so subscribe, make sure you don't miss any more. And that's going to be it. I'll catch you guys in the next one.